Hi, welcome to the Adding Bliss channel. I'm Michelle, and today we're going to be adding karma by speaking with Rachel Lloyd, who is the Executive Director of GEMS. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. And Rachel has written a new book called Girls Like Us, and it's being released April 5th by HarperCollins. Great. So are you excited about writing the book?
I'm incredibly excited. I mean, I feel like this is one of the biggest accomplishments in my life. And so, yeah, it's a good time. It's a
Very
good time.
great. So you were a largely instrumental in passing the New York State Safe Harbor Act. Do you see a lot of legislation changing, like the Sarah Cruzan case and things like that? Do you see a lot of hopeful things happening in legislation?
I mean, look, you know, it was interesting when I started. I started writing this like 2 years ago now, and so even like, you know, what we've seen in the last kind of 2 years, we've seen a real shift. And there were things that when I went back and did the final edit, I had to like change or take out because it had changed, right? I mean, it just wasn't relevant anymore. So that's exciting because we've been able to see real progress. I think what we saw with Safe Harbor, I mean, it took us nearly 5 years in New York State to get that passed, but since we passed, 4 other states have passed theirs, and they passed theirs within like 6 to 8 months kind of thing. So
somebody
I
always
think
has to do it first.
Yeah, and so I think that we're beginning to see that shift. I mean, with Sarah Cruzan, the young woman who was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, I mean, she's been given the possibility of parole now. I wish the governor...
Wasn't she pardoned, I believe?
No, it was clemency, but it was clemency. There's like full clemency, and there's clemency where she's still in jail. She'll be doing quite a few years in jail. She has the opportunity to go to parole. I mean, right, I feel like it would have been great if he'd gone like the full step, and I mean that was what we were asking for, was that full clemency piece. I mean, she's already done 16 years. She was 16 years old at the time. Yeah. The man was a 37-year-old pimp.
And her former pimp.
Yes, and had exploited her since she was like 13 and had been grooming her since she was 11. So I mean, right, the man was a child abuser. Not saying that, right, child abusers should be killed, but you know, things happen. And she's served a fair amount of time and has become an incredibly productive... I just got a letter from her recently. I mean, I was crying my eyes out. I mean, this woman is just, you know, her heart and her spirit is so strong and so compassionate and not bitter, and I'm like, I would not be that person if I was in jail at all.
Yeah. No. I'd be writing a letter to everyone every day, like, I need to be let out now.
Yeah.
Okay, so so the average age of a sexually exploited girl, we learned from the movie Very Young Girls, is 13 to 14 years old, but that's not the average recruitment age.
No, that is the average recruitment age.
That's the average recruitment age.
And average average is, you know, in terms of statistics, right, would mean that that's the age in the middle, so there's girls who are much younger. It's actually like the most common age of entry is like 13, 14. And I think the challenge is that people can feel empathetic towards the 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old. Once that young person is like 15, 16, 17, empathy starts to like forget if she's 18, right? Then it's like, oh, she's an adult, she knows what she's doing. But like, really, did you know what you were doing at 18? I mean,
no,
not so much,
I didn't know
right?
what I was doing at 25.
Yeah. But you don't realize that until much later, right?
Right.
And then you're like, oh goodness, I was a knucklehead. Right. So, you know, I think it's critical for people to be able to think about how young girls often are when they get in, but also to think about, even if they're older, all the risk factors that have influenced that.
Right. And also, you know, a 14-year-old or 16 or a 15-year-old girl isn't old enough to vote or drive a car or buy alcohol.
I mean, anything.
Get a
basically,
job, most places.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, at that age, your life is controlled by the adults around you. And so hopefully, right, you've got supportive, kind, loving, compassionate adults. In the case of the young people that we serve, they're surrounded by exploitive, abusive adults who are trying to make money off them.
Right. So I'm just going to throw some medical terms out that apply to most of the women that you help, or the girls that you help. PTSD, relapse, Stockholm Syndrome, battered person syndrome, kidnapping, statutory rape, withdrawal. And these aren't when, a person who's lived the quote unquote love life, when they think of someone who is a quote unquote prostitute, these aren't the things that they think of. And if you saw a piece of paper that said, this girl, this age, went through these symptoms,
these things, yeah.
you would say, let's get her counseling, let's get her help, take her to the hospital.
Yeah,
Why?
I mean, that's a lot of what we do. Why do we not see it in the same way?
Right.
I mean, because I just think people aren't educated about this issue. I mean, when we do training, we almost do it just like you described. I mean, we do, when we're training cops, social work, right? We'll have a room full of folks and we'll have people read these one sentence statements that I put together that are all based on real girls. And it's like, Miranda was 15 when she was beaten by 3 pimps and left in a ditch. So-and-so was 17 when she was stabbed in her vagina and left to die on the street. Right? Like, I mean, and so people kind of stand up and bear witness. And afterwards, people are kind of shocked, and then you talk about like the impact. What kind of impact is that level of violence? And people are like, okay, they're going to be traumatized, they're going to be, scared, right? And then you begin to see that shift of people who came in the morning and were like, these are a bunch of teen prostitutes. And then you sat there and you said, all right, these girls are being kidnapped, they're being raped. And then you see that kind of shift. I think people just need to be educated. I think most people, once they learn about it, actually do feel like, right? And the response we've had from the movie and hopefully now with the book, right, has been like that cognitive shift. And I think, right, I mean, I do think it matters which young person certain things happen to, which woman certain things happen to, right? And, I mean, race and class and your prior status in the world make a difference, whether you're seen as a real victim or not.
Right.
Right, I think if we see trauma and violence and abuse is happening to young people as like inevitable because they're low income, because their kids of color, because they grew up in a foster care or one parent home or whatever, then we don't care as much. But when it happens to like a good girl or like
your
a
Elizabeth
virgin
Smarts or J.C. Duggar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the piece we have to shift to.
What would you like anyone watching this interview to take away? Or is there anything you want to discuss that I haven't mentioned previously?
No, I think I think you covered some really interesting stuff. I mean, I think just hopefully, hopefully people will read the book. But I mean, more than that, right? Yes,
people read the book.
I mean, beyond kind of reading the book, right? It's hopefully that people do something with that knowledge or that feeling afterwards. And so whether that's and that doesn't have to look like volunteering at GEMS, right? That can be taking more of an interest in your niece's life. Do you know what I mean? Because she's like 11 and those rough years are around, and her father left a couple of years ago, and you as a woman could like really kind of step in and support her,
right? Or even not just your niece, any girl.
Any young
person,
11-year-old, right? Going volunteering at Big Brother Big Sister. I mean, right? I think a lot of people want to work with trafficking victims, but if you're working with those young people, those are the young people who are so much less likely to become a trafficking victim because you intervened at an early point.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everything. There's so many things I think that people can do to kind of take action on this issue and to kind of change the conversation and to change the way we see this issue. So, yeah, I mean, that's my hope, is that people are moved to some type of action from this. And I can remember when we'd gotten an office over at my old church, and they were giving us like this office space for free, and it was a classroom. It was in an old school, and so it was not a very attractive looking office, and it was a huge classroom, and there was like a desk and a chair, and it looked crazy. And so I had a funder, it was like the very first funder coming to visit me, and so I'd gone in the church office to see if we could borrow like the pastor's plants, and so they let me bring all the pastor's plants in, I decorate it, and halfway through I'm sitting talking to the funder, this church secretary comes in and was like, "Pastor wants his plants back," and she came in and took the plants while I was in the meeting. So yeah, we've come a long way since then, because now we have our own plants. They're not real, because we killed them at GEMS because nobody remembered to water them.
Okay, so the very last question, with all my interviews I like to do a little word association.
Oh no.
Yay! So I'll say a word or a phrase and you just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Hopefully no Freudian slips. All right.
Okay, here we go. Girls.
Women.
Mother.
Daughter.
Love.
Trust.
New York.
City.
Tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Teen prostitute.
Ew.
Okay, that was excellent.
That's my word. Ew.
Pimp.
Ew. Yeah, ew.
Strength.
Hope.
Rachel Lloyd.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
Bliss.
Peace.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But wait, I have one more thing.
Yes.
I know your birthday just passed.
Oh, my own special one. Oh, that's good.
So I actually made an identical one, and
Oh, that's really
we're going to auction it off
Oh,
on the website.
awesome. Awesome. Oh, I'm rocking this one. This is really cute. Thank you.
Thank you so
I
much.
do love gems. I
Yeah.
do. It's my home.
Yeah, I love it too. I've been working off and on doing, and I really feel like, I don't know if you remember reading this in my blog post, but I saw the movie and I was so excited and I was like, man, I'm gonna do something. But I didn't know, I don't have a degree in social work, I don't have any money, and all I had were cakes.
And you see, people appreciate
Yeah.
and remember and love
Yeah.
those cakes.
So you really don't have to do a lot. Every little thing, if you have an extra box of paper clips, it's not overwhelming to
Yeah.
get involved and help. So I like to thank Rachel for taking the time out of her busy schedule to talk to us today. For more information about GEMS, you can go to gemsgirls.org. You can watch the documentary, Very Young Girls. It's on Netflix, on demand. You can also buy the DVD. You can rent it. You can also read Rachel's book, Girls Like Us. It's an amazing book, amazing story. It's a must-read for everyone. Rachel has been kind enough to donate 3 autographed copies for the newsletter giveaway. So make sure that you sign up for that. And if not, get it from Amazon, get it from Barnes & Noble. And when you get it, read it, give it to someone else so they can read it too, and really just get involved. So that's it. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep adding bliss.